business people to run, go to Washington. Let's see if we can turn things around. So I ran for the United States Senate. This was after, let me digress for a second. Earlier that year, I'd been appointed by the governor to serve on the State Board of Education, and I really did enjoy that, but I had to give that up to run for the Senate, to devote my full time to that. I left WWE. I announced my resignation the same day I announced that I was going to run for the Senate, and just made a clean cut. It was bittersweet. It really was, because that business is your baby. You watched it grow. But I really wanted to give back in a different way. I ran twice for the U.S. Senate in Connecticut. I was not successful, but I really learned a lot about myself during that process. And I met a tremendous good friend, Miss Stacy Shefflin. And Stacy and her husband David and their daughters worked on my campaign, and I didn't even know it. At night, they'd go out and put signs up. Stacy said they did that because they'd put signs up during the day and people take them down. So they would put them up at night, and then people weren't aware of it. They were sneaky. But they did that for me. So I met Stacy that way. And I learned a lot about myself when I was campaigning. And I gave it everything I had to run twice. I ran on the wrong ticket in Connecticut. Connecticut's a very liberal state, and I ran as a Republican, growing up with very conservative values from North Carolina. And it's not the time in Connecticut to be a Republican. I'm not sure when that time will ever be. But I was not successful. So now what do? You haven't been successful in that. You've left your company. You've been out of your company now 5 years. And there's no way to go back to a company as dynamic and growing and everything at WWE is, and try to insert yourself back into that. It's not fair to the people who were there. It's not fair to you, because you couldn't possibly have kept up for that 5-year period. So I was doing a lot of foundation work. I started writing a book. People were saying to me, you know, really, what is the matter with you? You are wealthy. You can sit on a beach somewhere and drink pina coladas all day long and play with your grandchildren and have a great time. Why do you keep thrusting yourself into all of these things and not take a minute for yourself? And I thought, you know, I'm just not wired that way. I'm always wired about wanting to take on that next challenge, wanting to do that next thing. But you have influence. You have power. You can do all of these things, and, you know, why do you just push yourself so hard? And what is that next thing you really want to do? I recently taped a show that's going to be on PBS probably in another 3 or 4 months, and it's a 3-part series about women in education, blah, blah. So that was fun. I did that. But I'm in my office one day, and Stacy had called me, and she said, look, can we come up and talk to you? I have a friend I want to introduce you to, Debbie Saviano. We have an idea I'd like to run past you. We want to get your idea about it. Just want to have you take a look at our plan, get your opinion. So they come into my office. Now, you've seen them both up here on the stage. You realize I had not a chance when they came in that day to pitch this idea about Women's Leadership Live. I had them scheduled for 30 minutes, and 4 hours later, when they left, we had toasted champagne, because I told them, not only do I think this is a great idea, but I want in. I want to be part of this. I had learned when I campaigned that there were so many women who really didn't feel like they were getting a fair shake. Professionals who were hitting that glass ceiling. I never experienced that. You know, Vince and I were in business, and somebody asked me when David said, how did you, you know, not really realizing what the relationship between Vince and I was, said, how did you get to be CEO? I said, I slept my way to the top. But boy, did I know they were onto something when they came in. And we started a 1.5 years ago really putting together what has culminated in this weekend. We pushed the date back twice because we weren't ready, because we wanted to deliver something to all of you that maybe was better, hopefully, than some of the things that you've done before. We wanted to put ideas out there. We wanted to have your engagement. So basically, what was that? We were sharing our powerful, not power, but our powerful with all of you. And the way that works is when you share back with us. So whenever we're walking and we're talking and we have spent hours and weeks and months redefining, polishing this whole program. And we came in with our fingers crossed because we said, we think we know what we're doing. This is not a unique formula to have a conference, to have breakout sessions. What's going to make us different? How are we really going to deliver value to all of you so that you feel that your time and your effort and your money that you've invested is well spent? And we went over and over. Quality of speakers that came in for our breakout sessions, opportunities that go beyond that through potentially HSN and American Dreams. We want to stay connected, with all of you. And when I look back over, my career, and I've thought about people who really incredibly made a difference in my life. It started with a teacher when I was in high school, a great mentor to me. It started then with another woman in my neighborhood. When you grow up in the South, you probably all know this, and you call it, your neighbor. If they're really good friends, it's Aunt Evelyn. They're really no relation, but it's Aunt Evelyn. And I'm also very pleased when Stacy's two daughters call me Auntie Linda. That's a real big thing for me. So my neighbor, Aunt Evelyn, was the lunchroom supervisor. And I used to ride in her truck every day. She had a pickup truck with her to the school, and I watched her every day count the money in the schoolroom, in the cafeteria. Every day it had to balance, it had to be precise. She had to do everything just right. Plan all the menus, order all the food, get it all in, feed the kids. It was always great. I came through the lunch line, when she knew something I liked a lot, she'd give me a little extra dollop of it, which is pretty cool. But I watched her, and I learned about money management. I watched all those nickels and dimes and quarters and how everything had to balance at the end of every single day. And I thought, you know what, there's so much value there. And my dad taught me, he said, you take care of the pennies and the nickels, and the dollars take care of themselves. And if you've ever been bankrupt, it's a lesson, that you don't ever forget. And I think what Stacy and Debbie and I are hoping that all of you who are here today, that you've had a little bit of association with us, that you want to stay connected with us. The three of us bring such totally different perspectives on what we've done. Stacy was incredibly modest this morning when she said, yeah, I've been on HSN TV, whatever. She was a Ford model for 20 years. She's walked runways all over the world. She's been on magazine covers. She did a little stint with Princess Grace. Not too shabby in Monaco. Then she went to HSN and just became this dynamite saleswoman for her product. Your best friend. First she started Models Prefer, but she is an accomplished businesswoman, and she's sharing with all of you. Look at Debbie Saviano. Bus driver, teacher, school principal. She's touched so many lives along the way, and now we're reaching out to touch all of you again. My whole background growing up, not having any idea about the wrestling business, but it became such a phenomenal entertainment product. You heard Stephanie say yesterday, WWE's job description every day is to put smiles on people's faces. And I'll share with you very briefly how I think you share powerful is when we did our first WrestleMania, 1985. And we had our first group of Make-A-Wish kids backstage. And there was a little boy, I'm telling you, these things really tug at your heartstrings. A little boy sitting in a wheelchair, and he was connected every which way, to tubes and drips and IVs, and Hulk Hogan was standing in front of him, and Mr. T was over here. And Hulk Hogan couldn't help himself. He had a little tear come down his face. And this little boy looked up at Hulk Hogan and he said, "Hulk, please don't cry for me. This is the happiest day of my life." Now, Hulk had to leave the room. And honestly, the thing that touched me the most, you look past this child at his parents. I believe they were the bravest people in this world. They're looking at a child and they've been able to do something for him. He died about 6 weeks after WrestleMania, but he had a happy day. And WWE helped make that day happy for him. So if you want to talk about being able to share powerful, that's powerful. When you touch somebody's lives like that. And WWE has continued to work with Special Olympics, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Susan G. Komen for breast cancer awareness. It's part of the DNA of what Vince and I have always wanted to do, and that is to continue to give back, to make sure that the people who are within our company understand that part of your obligation, when you have been fortunate, is to share with others. Because every bit of that is power. You have amassed that kind of power. So every day I would suggest to you that you put a little away in your own power bank and collect all of these little bits of power throughout, whether it's putting a smile on somebody's face, whether it's giving someone a helping hand. I'm an honorary mayor in the city of New York, and on the statue, the little statuette they gave me, it says man, but it says no man is ever so tall as when he stoops to help a child. I've never forgotten that. I thought that was just a wonderful thing. So put those little power pieces in your power bank, because you never know when you ought to take it out and share some of that powerful. Because the only way I believe that we can ever share powerful is when we empower someone else. You never know when you're going to empower someone else. You never know when you're going to touch them. You never know when a smile on a particular day is going to lift somebody's spirit. Stacy said today she had a better personality today because she thought her makeup was better than it was yesterday. It's the little things in life. Little things in life that make us feel better, but it's the little things in life that we do for other people. Power and influence is great. You know, there was a while I was called one of the most powerful women in cable television. Hey, makes you feel pretty good. What does that do for you? It's your responsibility then to coach and mentor and bring along those others. And we have that responsibility, and that's what Women's Leadership Live is all about. We want to empower you by sharing powerful, and we want you to share back. Because you know what? Your power bank gets depleted. It doesn't just stay there. You got to keep feeding it. And it goes both ways. So I hope that you've come today, you've enjoyed the weekend, you want to stay connected with us for Women's Leadership Live. You want to participate in our activities. You want to stay all day. You want to come tonight, be part of the big dance and karaoke and all that stuff. But each time, you're reaching out and you're looking into each other's face, looking in your eyes. I do that with my little granddaughters, kind of like this. You're sharing that powerful connection that you're making. And keep putting that power in your power bank so that it doesn't go away and you always have that reserve. And don't ever hesitate to reach in and give it to somebody else and give them a helping hand. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. So I would be delighted if you had questions. Please come up. Don't hesitate to ask me. And I'm sort of an open book about things. Come on. Somebody. Come on, Debbie. All right.
I just need the most